Welcome back to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm Dean Zarbaugh. I'm here with Mike Pelechaty. We are at Masthead Brewing Company. We have moved on to the Extra Extra. This is a double New England IPA. You guys, when did this one first come out? Because I have a can of this sitting at home, and I can't remember when I got it.
I want to say it was March of 2018.
Yeah, I knew it was a winter month because I chose not to wait in the line and get here a little later. And it worked out very well because I was able to sit at the bar, have a pizza, get a couple drafts, and by the time that was done, I got my number and I walked out. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I always tell people that's the best way to do it is get a couple beers, get a pizza, wait, chill out. The New England IPAs have been a really big thing for you guys. When did you first start getting into brewing New England IPAs? Was that something you did as a home brewer?
No, so I actually never explored the style as a home brewer. We brewed our first one, I believe, in November of 2017.
Okay.
And there had been a lot of buzz about the style for a little while, and it had been building and building. And I hadn't had a ton that were made locally, and I hadn't at that point had a ton of the, I'd had Heady Topper and Focal Banger from The Alchemist, but those are interesting because I don't totally identify them with some of the other New England IPAs that came after them because they're almost brewed like a West Coast IPA, just fermented with the New England yeast.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of IBUs in those, whereas the ones that have come later are far lower in bitterness. So once I started to get my hands on some of the Treehouse and Trillium beers, that's when I think I got really excited about trying to brew the style.
Okay.
Because those beers I thought were just crushing it.
Yeah.
They were delicious and totally different than anything I had at that time.
Yeah.
So that was sort of we had been having a couple of those. A couple of our friends traded for them, and then we went into the style. And our first one that we made was Fleeb Juice.
Yeah. That I haven't had Fleeb. I had Baby Fleeb.
Okay.
That one was awesome.
Thank you.
And so Fleeb Juice is your first one, and then you release it, and was it just like, did it hit pretty much right away?
Yeah, I mean, I think people were really into it immediately, but I think at the same time we knew that, that was our first foray into it. We knew that we could continue to improve on it and continue to play with some new hops and different things and different processes. And it's been really exciting because the process is quite different.
Go into a little bit about that. Like how does that differ than, let's say, doing a West Coast IPA?
So most of the hopping is, well, number one, the grain bill is completely different. We're using a lot of oats, a lot of wheat, and that's kind of what throws that big protein haze. And then we're also adding most of the hops towards the end of the boil into the whirlpool, and then we dry hop during fermentation.
Okay.
And sort of those three things, as well as the yeast being a biotransformer, gets that really stable haze that even if you have one of our beers, I think, a couple, 3 months later, you'll still see a nice stable haze. It won't have dropped bright. So it's kind of a combination of things. But that, like all that chemistry in creating that haze is really unique, and it's totally different than anything we're doing with any other beers.
Yeah, I like the style, talking about the lower IBUs that you see around here. I feel that it's a really nice kind of gateway for people who say they don't like IPAs to try and discover they probably might like an IPA.
Yeah, my mom hates West Coast IPAs, but she will drink the New England ones.
Yeah, like I've turned so many people on to New England styles, and they're like, I can't believe I like an IPA. You got to find an IBU number that's right for you. You got to find the hops that are right for you. Not every IPA has the same hops.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting. A lot of people, there have been a number of people at least who have said New Englands are a fad, and I think that's crazy. I mean, I think there's just too many people who are enjoying the style for it to not stick around.
Absolutely, no. It's the next step in IPAs, and that is what it is. You don't have to like it, but that is what it is. So Extra Extra, it has that. I love the can design on it that you did, because it has that. Like, it builds into the masthead, the newspaper theme. It has the newspaper on it. It's Extra Extra, the paper boys back in the day. Tell people a little bit about the profile and kind of what inspired this specific recipe.
Okay, yeah, it's a double New England IPA, and it's also double dry hopped. So we're hitting it with 2 different charges of hops during the fermentation. And I think we were looking. Well, number one, the whole idea extra really plays into it being a double New England and double dry hopped.
Yeah.
It gets a pretty crazy amount of hops throughout the process. But then also having a beer that can tie into sort of the newspaper brand and be sort of, for us, a flagship double New England IPA that we're going to continue to brew and continue to be consistent with, and something that people can expect. Some of these New England IPAs we might never brew again, but that's one we'll definitely come back to. And I believe it was the first beer that we double dry hopped.
Okay.
So that was another part of that was kind of unique and we felt was special for that beer.
And as far as the profile goes, it's got that big juicy flavor.
Yeah, it's got a ton of Citra, a ton of Mosaic, and definitely so you're going to get big passion fruit, some pineapple, maybe a little bit of some ripe berry kind of tones from the Mosaic. So it definitely is just a bouquet of tropical fruit.
Yeah, it for 8%.
Yeah, it's 8%.
It doesn't drink like that. It drinks
it's
a little lighter,
dangerous.
But in a nice way.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take some home in a crowler or something, you can sit there and enjoy that, and then realize, oh yeah, it's 8%. It's a nice easy drinker for 8%.
Yeah.
And it's fun to say that. I like we were talking about in the last episode about having more those sessionable IPAs, but every once in a while you like having a couple of those 8%ers.
Yeah, and you can just pack so much more hop flavor into some of the bigger beers. It's kind of inspired by, some of the double IPAs over at Trillium or like King Julius, over at Treehouse, kind of that inspiration of packing that much hop flavor into a beer.
Where do you guys get we were talking a little bit about the can designs, where do those ideas come from? Is that from you? Who comes up with your can designs?
We generally talk about it as a team. And it might be someone has an idea and we kind of talk about it, work through it, and run with it. And in some senses, we'll give some of our ideas to our designer. Her name's Kyla from House of Helga. A little plug for her company, and she'll run with it and give us a few options that take that side of things way farther than we could.
The New England Series cans that I've picked up, they're awesome. They really stick out. They're unique. I have I think a Baby Fleeb Juice series of tubes, but the Vice series has been a really cool series for me to try, just because you kind of find out hops you might like, hops you don't like, and it's a way to single out certain hops.
We've had a ton of fun with that series because I think there's often, maybe not often, but there can be a disconnect of what people think different hops taste like because they're plowed into a beer with a bunch of different hops.
Yeah.
But this actually identifies that. You can taste it and be like, oh, maybe that isn't what I thought Galaxy tastes like, or it is what I thought Galaxy tastes like, or
and it's a nice
likewise with the other ones.
A nice way to train your palate.
Absolutely.
In a way.
Yeah. And then you can identify that flavor somewhere else and be like, oh, I've totally had this before. I know what hops are in this. Or
it's been extremely beneficial to me as someone who's trying to build the palate to be able to go in and say, okay, that's what this tastes like. That's what this tastes like. And grow what my knowledge of hop flavors and stuff. And extra, I just remember being, it's been a minute since I've had it, but I just remember being one of the best double New Englands I've had. And like I said a couple of times, you guys are just knocking it out of the park with the New Englands around here.
Oh, thanks so much.
It's fun to see the passion that your fans have for your releases on Saturdays when you do them. You get people lined up out here in the cold, waiting for beer. It's got to feel good.
Yeah, I can't thank those guys enough. And that's why, part of us, we want to keep the quality really high, and we want to make sure that we're continuing to do new things and do experimental stuff, but also bring back some of the beers they like the most, so that they keep them excited about it and make sure we're giving the people what they want.
And it gives people an excuse to come down here and check out the place for themselves if they haven't actually been here yet.
Oh, absolutely.
And try, the whole ambiance feel of this place when it's packed is just, it's unparalleled. Like, you just come in here, there's tons of people here, but it's not, like we've said, it's not busy. It's just this is where people are hanging out, and it's a nice place to come and enjoy a beer. If you wanted to have something to eat with the extra, do you know what any of your pizzas would best go with that?
So I personally like a veggie pizza with that. Honestly,
Ooh, yeah.
I think some of the bitterness from some of the vegetables and the mushrooms and different things actually kind of complements the sweeter New England style a little bit. But that's my take. I think there's a couple pizzas on the menu that could pair pretty well.
Yeah.
I think the chicken bacon ranch pizza also could be quite a nice pairing. It's got some arugula,
nice.
So you're going to get some of that bitterness as well. But I think that smoky Newski bacon and a little bit of the fat actually in the bacon accentuates the hop character.
Yeah, that sounds great. And that's what you come down here. It's not just pepperoni pizza. It's not just basic pizza. There's really cool stuff to go out and really expand your palate, not just with beer but with the food too. And I can't tell enough people about the food too, and definitely get down here and try that. So extra has been it's been really popular for you guys. People have been really enjoying it. With getting from the New England to a double New England, is it any quote unquote harder, or is it just getting that balance a little bit?
So I think the most difficult part is the yeasts are actually the yeast that people are using in the New England beers are all descended from English yeasts.
Okay.
And as such, they're not quite as consistent as some of the American yeasts we like to use.
Gotcha.
So they're a little bit more like your cat than like your dog. So the fermentation can be a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah.
I think that's the toughest part, to make sure the beer attenuates but not too much.
Mm-hmm.
And also to get the dry hop timing right.
Yeah.
So those two factors I think are probably the most challenging. So I'll often be coming in on a Sunday to do a dry hop or doing different things like that. So
it's I've said before, I don't have the patience to do what you do. I am not a patient person, and to wait as long as you have to wait to find out if something's going to be good or not. I couldn't do that. More power to you guys.
Oh, thanks so much.
I don't know how you guys do it. But other than anything I might have forgotten as far as the extra goes, history, profile, inspiration, anything like that?
I think that covers it. I mean, the only other thing I can think, now that I'm sort of thinking of some of the other challenging factors in some of the double New Englands, is just packing enough hop flavor in without getting any bitterness.
Okay, yeah.
Because hops are kind of inherently bitter, so
so
that's really where the timing and fermentation and all that stuff, you want to really dial all that in to make sure you're not getting a ton of bitterness with the hop flavor. Yeah,
because that, like you said, there are some out there that were brewed more to be those higher bitterness, but I think that as far as the industry goes, as far as the general palate goes, this is generally the lower IBUs, the bigger juiciness, I think is where people's tastes lie for the most part. And,
absolutely.
Nice range, nice double IPA, big juicy flavor. Definitely pick it up and get it at the brewery. One of the best beers you guys do. And tune in next week as we cover another beer here at Masthead Brewing Company.